Welcome back. Today, I don't need to analyze my Lichess Rapid game from last night because my opponent played with 100% accuracy. By the time of my first mistake, they were ahead +2 or +3, something like that, so there's no point in going through that game. If you think there is, I've tried dozens of times and have never learned anything from a game where my opponent never made any mistakes. So I'm just going to do some puzzles, and hopefully that will help me with some, with my chess development. I'm going to click puzzles. Last time I made it to 1857. I made a huge mistake at the beginning of this video. Right after I said what I was going to do, I started solving the puzzle without switching the screen here, so it was just me talking on camera and you couldn't see the board. So I've deleted all that, but I will show you this puzzle again. What I determined here was that because their knight is guarding, this square, their rook's guarding that too, I could checkmate here if their knight wasn't guarding that square, and I could checkmate over here if their bishop wasn't guarding that square. So I decided to check with the rook, assuming that the knight would take, and then I would have checkmate. But when I checked here, it just said that was the end of the puzzle. I started with 1857 as my puzzle rating, and I got 6 points for this, so it should be at 1863 now. I'm going to click the next button. And if you're new to my channel, I'm not a chess coach or a titled player. I'm just a random person trying to get better at chess. And I'm doing that on video, which hopefully will help those of you that are rated lower than me. And a side hope is that those of you who are around my level or higher might occasionally be able to help me out. I do use a checklist, which is checks, captures, and threats. I look for those things and decide, what the best move is here. In this case, I think I only have 2 checks. One is with the rook. That leaves their king, 3 different ways to get out of check. The other check is with the knight, capturing on f6. And because my rook is cutting off the entire 7th rank, that only leaves them 2 options. If they go to the corner, then I should be able to checkmate there with the rook. No, their knight's guarding that square. Let's see, if they go to the corner, then I would have to check down here on a8, leaving them only one legal move, which is to come toward my knight, which is defended by my other rook. Then I could check here, but then they could move over one, and then anywhere I moved the knight would be check because of this rook. So it looks like I would have several checks here, and it's really close to mate, but it's not quite. But I think I do have to keep checking because of where their rooks are. If I don't check on any turn, or take one of these pieces, they're going to check me on h2. I'm only going to have one legal move, and then that's going to be checkmate over here on g2. So I think I have to keep checking them. Also, if I ever move this rook, then they have checkmate immediately. I could come back and block, but then they would take it. So because I am so close to being checkmated, I think I have to keep checking them. Well, I simply can't see that many moves ahead, so the checklist isn't helping me here. I know I don't have any captures other than this pawn. And again, if I capture that pawn without check, I'm getting checkmated really quick over here in the corner. So I'm going to take the pawn with check. If that's wrong, we'll try to find out why. Oh, that was right, and they went to the corner. Okay, well, I think we determined that taking the rook over to h7 is bad because their king can't take because the knight's protecting, but their knight could take. Right? If I check with the rook, they take with their knight, and then my only follow-up check, and then I wouldn't have a follow-up check because my own knight's in the way of getting down there. Even if I could put my rook down there, they could take it with the knight that's now on h7. They would have both my rooks, and then I would lose. And if I do something that's not check, they win. So now my only checks are a rook to h7 or a rook to a8, which allows them up to g7. So I'm going to play rook to a8. They came up to g7 because they had to. Well, now I have multiple checks. Can check with the knight on h7. What does that allow them to do? That allows them to come closer to my knight, but if they do that, I have mate. Okay, so knight to h7, it also allows them to move over one, in which case I can't check them there because of their knight. So what do they play if I check with the rook to g8? That only leaves them one legal move, and then I can't move the knight to discover this check with this rook because then they could take the other rook. My goodness. I also have this check, knight to e8 check. And my f-rook then would be cutting these squares off from the king, and the knight would be hitting that square, and the other rook's hitting here, so they would only have 2 choices then. And if they came up, I could then check with this rook here, protected by the knight, on f6. But then they would go over there, and then I would check here. Goodness, what? Sorry, there's just too many possibilities. I can't keep track of them all in my head. I know I can check by moving the knight here. I know I can check by moving the knight there to e8 or h5. But in both of those cases, I think they have a way out. I can also check again by putting this rook back on, where it just was on B7, sorry, A7. But then the king can sneak up in here. For that matter, the king can sneak up in there if I check with the knight. But if it goes up in there, then I check here. Maybe H5's the best? It was. Okay, wow. Okay, and again, I'm pretty sure I don't want to check on F7 because their knight can take. So I want to check on A7, which only allows their king 2 legal moves. If they go to the corner, then I have mate. But if they go to G7, if I check on A7 and they come up, then do I have mate? I think. Okay, so what if they go down? If I check on A7 and they go to G7, then I bring my G8, then I bring my rook to G7 and they have to go in the corner. Okay, I think that's it. Oh, they blocked with the bishop. Okay. And then after all that and it stopped? Oh my goodness. I'm going to check the analysis board here because I feel like I guessed on every single turn and then I don't know why it stopped. Why did it stop? Okay, so their problem was taking my knight that I had there. And now that leaves me a forced mate in 9. What? Well, apparently I was right to take this instead of checking some other way because anything else would have given my opponent a mating sequence. They only had a couple of legal moves here and they chose that one, which leaves me with a forced mate in 8. And here I chose correctly and they did not... Oh, it says they should have blocked with the bishop here or go to king to G7. They went king to G7. Knight to E8 check would have resulted in, their rook's guarding that square. They just would have taken with the rook. And that would have been okay for them to go down that exchange because they're already up a full piece, apparently. I didn't even see that rook. Okay, wow. Okay, so I guessed correctly to go here, and they had 2 legal moves, and they picked the best one, which was king to H7. And then, yeah, I knew I didn't want to check back here again because I think that would have been a repetition. Well, my third best move would be to check them in the corner where they could just take it. Okay, so this one was a given, and blocking with the bishop was their best move. And then I took it, and that's the end of the puzzle. Okay, well, I'm wondering, why didn't they play their best move? Their best move is to play rook to E7, according to this. And I'm guessing my best move would be to take it right then? Let me check. Yeah, by far. So why didn't the puzzle continue? And now their best move is knight to F7. Okay. And I'm guessing here I would have 2 choices? Okay, here I could take it with either rook, and it wouldn't be that much different, but it would be slightly better to take with the F rook. And they would go here, and then I would again have a couple of choices that aren't that much different. Wow. Well, that puzzle took a lot out of me. Hopefully I have enough mental ability left for the next one, but I'm going to go on to the next one. Oh, we've got pawns. Okay. Well, I only have a few choices. I have a king and 2 pawns. With my king, I could move over, trying to chase their pawn, but then I assumed they would take my G pawn, and I would probably have to take back, and then they would advance their E pawn. And then if I took their A pawn, I couldn't get their E pawn. And if I came back to get their E pawn, then I couldn't get their A pawn. Okay? So I'm guessing I think I have to take their F pawn with my G pawn at this moment. Because if they push their A pawn, I can still catch it. And it doesn't make any sense to push my H pawn, does it? Because then they take. That would allow me past, but do I want to go past there or do I want to go past here and save a turn? Does it make any difference? Let's see, if I go past on the F file, can they catch me? That's a good question. They cannot. Okay, so I'm going to take their F pawn and expect they'll move their A pawn. Oh, they moved their E pawn. I didn't expect that. But now I think I need to go, because if they advance the A pawn, I get next to it. If they advance the E pawn, I promote. I think I have to get next to that, because here I'm going to promote, but they're going to promote with check. So I think I have to go after their A pawn. Oh, I hope that's right. Oh my, okay. You would think it wouldn't be quite that difficult with just a handful of pieces on the board, but sometimes those feel really difficult. Next. All right, as always, we will look at checks first. In this position, I only have 1 check, and that is H7 check. The king can't just move out of check because my bishop's covering those squares. I assume it would take the pawn. Then I would check with my rook. If they got out of check, then I'd have mate in the corner, so I think that's it. And, oh, they took with the bishop. Well, I didn't even consider that possibility. Oh my. Oh my. If I had thought they could do that, if I had considered that was a possibility, then I wouldn't have played it, and I would have got this puzzle wrong. So I guess it's a good thing I missed it, because now it doesn't do any good to put my rook over here, does it? Or does it? I don't know. I just lost a pawn, and I don't know why. But I have their pawn blockaded. They can't keep moving that one. What point is there of putting this rook over here? None that I can see. Wait, I think there is a point in putting the rook on h4, and that's this. I don't know what they'll do next, but they can't move their king. They might, I don't know, put this bishop up, the rook up here trying to get my bishop, but I could take it. I don't know what they'll play, but after I play rook to h4, let's just say they, do something silly like b6, then I can put this bishop over here threatening their bishop, and if they take mine because it's free, then I'll have mate. And if they don't take mine, I'll take theirs, I think. Oh wow, I said b6, but they played b5. I was pretty close as to guessing what they could do. Well, does that mean that bishop to d3 is what I should play? Because that's why I moved my rook over. I wouldn't have moved the rook over if I hadn't have seen bishop to d3, so I'm going to play that. That was it. Well, now I have mate in the corner. Oh, and I got 10 points. It says mate in 3, but it wouldn't have been mate if they hadn't taken my bishop, right? Not immediately, would it? Oh yeah, it would have, because I would have taken theirs. Okay. Overloading? Honestly, I don't even know what that means. What was overloaded? Okay, well, I'm glad I got it, but again, I feel really lucky to have gotten that one. Next puzzle. All right, as always, we will look for checks first. I think that's my only check. Rook to a2 is my only check, but they have a lot of choices. No, they don't have a lot of choices. Because my bishop's cutting off 2 of those squares, my rook's cutting off this whole rank, my knight's cutting off these, so they would only have 2 choices going down to the back rank. So rook to a2 check. Let's say they drop straight back. If they drop straight back, I can check again with my knight. Then they have to come over to where they could have gone in the first place. And then if I check them in the corner, they can just come back out. So check. What if they went to b1 first? Well, then I can check them in the corner, but they can come back out. Well, do I have any captures? Well, that's not how bishops move, but no, I don't have any captures. Threats? Not really. Okay, well, I'm going to check them rook to a2 because nothing else seems to make any sense, and that's my only check. Oh, that was it. And they went straight back instead of over to b1 like I thought they were going to. Okay, so should I check them again with the rook? And I don't think I should trade rooks at that point because they're ahead on material right now, aren't they? And they have a passed pawn. Technically 2 passed pawns, but I'm blockading that one. So their d pawn is passed. I'm going to have trouble stopping it, especially if I start getting these pieces down here. So let's say I'm not considering knight to d3 check because I think they could just take it. So knight to b3 check only allows them 1 legal move. So I like that. It's very forcing. Oh, and then here's my mate. Okay. I almost didn't see that. Okay. Yeah, it's right here. Because the bishop protects that. For some, I kept thinking down in the corner, but I wasn't seeing the rook to b2 check, which is mate. Wow. I probably need to mess around with one of my pieces of software and come up with some sort of silly sound effect that plays every time my brain just fails to see something that's probably obvious to everybody else. I can just add those into editing and I don't know. What sound effects would work for the brain not working? Think about it. Let me know in the comments. Anyway, next puzzle. I'm going to try to break 1900 in this video. I've gotten them all correct so far, but some of them have been ridiculously difficult. Okay, I do have checks in this puzzle. I have 1 check in this puzzle. That's knight captures f3 check. They have multiple ways to, 2 different ways to take back, or they could just get out of check. I don't think they would get out of check because then I would take their queen with my knight. And right now they want their queen. They want their queen to come down here fast and furious because they just moved a rook behind it for that purpose. So I think they would take back. I don't know if they would take back with their bishop or their pawn. And I also don't know if it would make a difference. But let's see. Let's say they take back with the pawn. That's probably the first option. And then what do I do? I don't know. Oh, okay. And then I take their bishop? Is that it? Because I kept looking over here for some sort of mate, but nothing really works. But this is an even trade of material. And whether they take back this way or that way, then I get their bishop for free because it's undefended. But then, and here they only pick up a pawn, so I probably shouldn't be worried about that, I think. Okay, I'm going to take the knight with jack. And then I'm going to take the bishop. Oh, I hope that's right. I didn't expect it to keep going. Well, I don't think I should take the pawn because that kind of defeats the purpose of me having taken a free piece. I think I should move the bishop to a6. And then they can't block me in anymore, can they? If they try, I think I just start taking stuff. So it has to be bishop to a6, doesn't it? I don't see anything else. I don't have any checks. I don't have any other captures other than that pawn, which seems foolhardy because they would take my bishop. I'm going to move my bishop to a6. Wow, I'm actually kind of surprised that was it, because otherwise, why would the puzzle have gone on to give me such an obvious move? Okay, wow, I almost didn't see that I could take the bishop over there. But they're still going to come down through here, right? And there's not much I can do about it. But I'm up a piece now, and I have the bishop pair. Okay, next puzzle. I'm almost out of time here. Let's see, what can we do? I have a few different checks. One is with the bishop here on d6. And then, of course, I have these two knight checks. The two knight checks don't look great. The one down there, I mean, they could take with the rook, but then I would take back, but then they wouldn't be in check anymore. Also, why haven't I developed any of these pieces over here on the C, B, and A files? I got this knight all the way down there, but then didn't develop these other pieces? Yeah, that's poor chess. But I mean, that is a check. They could take back, and I could take their rook, but does that leave me up? If I take here, they could take back, but then I could take their bishop, and I don't know if that leaves me up either. I can also check with the rook, but then they could take with the knight. Okay, so what about the bishop check? Bishop to d6. I think that was the first one that I saw. They can't come over here because my light squared bishop's cutting off those squares. Also, my knight is hitting g4 and g2. My rook's cutting off this entire file. So they... Oh, and my bishop would... Wait, is that just mate? What? Can they not block that? I think that's mate in one. Oh, wow. Yeah, I almost didn't see that. I just thought it was a check, but once you start marking off the squares that the king can't go to, that's checkmate. Oh my. All right, well, I did break 1900. I do feel like I was a little foggy-headed through this entire session, but I got them all right, I think, and the graph seems to bear that out. And I don't know if that's a function of something that I ate or how little sleep I got or just my age in general. You almost never know sometimes why you have the brain fog. You can kind of guess, but yeah, I feel a little bit hazy today, and I definitely almost missed several things there, but I'm glad I was persistent and got it, and maybe that's the lesson from this, is that persistence can pay off, or in this case, patience. Not persistence, but patience, that I waited until I checked all the moves. At least that's what helped me with this particular puzzle. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.